You watch a good Shakespeare adaptation and you can't imagine it any other way. Recently, a lovely person took me to the Globe to see As You Like It, one of the 3 whole Shakespeare plays I'd never previously read nor seen. And it was marvellous. Anyone lucky enough to find themselves at all near London this summer should go, because this troupe is producing some amazing productions. In As You Like It, they gender flip the main romantic protagonists, which, in a play that already presents a female character pretending to be male whilst pretending to be female, it really dances a fascinating farce around the constructs of identity. It also has the character of Celia, played by Nadia Najarada, an actress who is deaf. And watching her sign furiously to Rosalind behind Orlando's back, hearing her beseech her father in approximate sounds, watching her hands match up with Oliver's as they fall in love. This was no deviation from, but a perfect realising of the play. I realised, having never encountered this play before, that any future spectacle would be an adaptation for me of a character who was deaf. I could not begin to suppose how she'd work differently. At school, studying plays, I'd always drive my English teachers mad. Any question they set me on any script, instead of even attempting to answer it, I would write some pompous essay on how answering it was impossible. What could I say on the character of a white and devilish Vittoria, or the fall of an eponymous Othello, or any comedy, tragedy, or history? All I had before me was the basest of frameworks, the simplest of skeletons upon which play proper was waiting to be hung. Yeah, I would have hated to teach tenacious teenage me, but I still stand by such sentiments, if in less smarmy terms. I got through my muddlings of a degree by focusing on adaptations and reader response theory. I still think a script is but an inspiration, a jumping off point, giving rise to many varied and conflicting plays. Recently, the BBC produced a new King Lear, watchable on Amazon in the US or the iPlayer in the UK if you have access to either. King Lear is not a new play for me. I have been well washed in waves of it. I have read it, been in it, distinctly remember seeing too much of it in the guise of Sir Ian McKellen nakedly flapping about a stage to suggest madness. Still, in this instance, this play did something for me I had not considered before. It, at least in its opening, presented as wholly sympathetic Lear's 2 eldest daughters, Goneril and Regan, played in this instance by Emma Thompson and Emily Watson, respectively. I had never previously encountered these 2 women as anything but evil, scheming sister stereotypes. Eventually, the play seemed to spring back to the accepted interpretation, as if it could not stray too far from the mould without triggering some sort of elastic reflex. Maybe there's just no way to present a character who gouges out eyes as sympathetic. But I concentrate on that opening, on that first half, as Emma Thompson stands there as her father bodily bellows in her face. As he swans and sways in and out of her personal space, one minute grappling and pouring at her, the next forcing unwanted physical affection on anyone who ventures too close. Boorish, unpredictable, fearful, twice fearful, for now being a character she cannot reason with, who threatens her, but who may not have always been this way, who may once have been a father she had connection with. This BBC adaptation made this play something entirely different to me. It offered up to me something I'd never seen in it before. Not some mythic fairy tale of kings eons past, nor of chivalric lands and politicking, not even a kingdom divided between vicious snakelet queens. It suddenly became a very human, very familiar tale of your aged parent losing their poor, worried mind. And there simply being no good or correct or in any way satisfactory response to this. Suddenly, stretching across years, across disparate peoples and places, was wrought before me a perfect understanding of that pain, of having to watch someone you love lose themselves and become someone else, someone you don't know anymore, who without intention hurts you and hurts themselves. You feel the need, though it wholly breaks you, to take from them things they want, things they profess they need, because they are unwittingly harming themselves and others with them. You try to explain to them, in tears, their own madnesses, knowing they no longer lack the ability to stand outside of and bear witness to such, that they will never be able to recognise themselves as such, knowing you will necessarily be cast as villain to them, though that be what you least wish in the entire world. The tragedy of destroying your relationship with them, because you believe that to be the only way to properly care for them. Because the only way to, according to their logic, properly stand by them is to go mad with them. So don your jester's hat and go dance in the rain. A great adaptation makes you stand up and say, I never got what this play was about until right now, when you made it about this. And maybe Lear was always about this. Sometimes you're just not in the right place to receive the literature you come across. I hated The Catcher in the Rye the first time I read it as a young, carefree child forced to pick it up. I couldn't even begin to imagine the pain that Holden languished in. I reread it later in life, and its familiarity fell on me earth-shatteringly. I sometimes think we find the literature we need at the times of our lives when we need it, while also knowing that we find in whatever art we encounter the things that currently preoccupy our minds. And thus I dismiss a whole half a production for a glimmer in its opening that I happen to find connection with. And I book myself into the Globe again to see more of Nadia Najarada communicate with me in ways perfect and previously unconsidered. Because in that moment, bewitched as I am by their productions, texts become plays. And they become wholly paradigm-alteringly illuminating. And although I surely will, a year down the line upon a reread, sat before my next production, see it all differently once again, right now, I can't imagine them any other way. Probably still my favourite is Perdido Street Station. I'm afraid that at over 800 pages it is a bit of a beast, but if you're a common reader of fantasy...